I welcome you to our daily Bible study. I am your host, Bible teacher, Dr. Derek A. Reeves, and we're going to continue on in our 17th series that is entitled Mind War. Today's lesson, Mental Realms of Battle. Mental Realms of Battle. I want to come from the same scripture, and the scripture reads on this wise from our first two studies, Isaiah 26:3. Thou wilt keep him in perfect peace whose mind is stayed on thee, because he trusteth in thee. Again, the original tense of the scripture is, thou wilt keep in perfect peace, mind stayed, because he trusteth in thee. We have a lot to unpack today. And so what I want to first of all deal with, again, is the terminology for the word mind. Again, when we look at the term, it is the word Yetzer, and it's the same word, and it comes from the same family, from the term where God formed man from the dust of the ground. And so this formation then talks about the capacity and the power of the living soul to form, to frame, and to take information, turning it into images. And images then are the thought-generated images that produce perspective, ideology, and a frame of reference. And so every time you think apple, immediately the mind constructs what it has learned to do. And so the mind then takes the capacity of forming images, and the images will begin to elicit some type of feeling, some type of sensation based upon what the image is. And so when we talk about Yetzer, it's very interesting and it's very important for us to understand this terminology, because it talks about the construction or the formation of something, as if one is doing pottery, as if one is forming a device or some type of intellectual framework. And so what's happening then, the mind is operating on several levels. Remember, you have specifically the conscious level, and that is the level where the mind must use some type of effort to think, to control, to solve, to fathom, to use the cognition, to utilize the information willfully to achieve a specific objective. Then there is the subconscious. The subconscious is just below the conscious level. And the conscious level, although it is responding directly to the will, the subconscious is also responding to the will, but on a lower level. And the subconscious is the portion of the mind that literally reveals what's going on in the unconscious. Whatever is the truth in your unconscious, the subconscious will stimulate the body, activate the various regions of the body. And so you begin to subconsciously reveal feelings. You begin to, at a lower level, reveal truth, true assessment, true arousal, truth that leaks through the unconscious mind. And that's why when individuals are feeling aroused, in many cases, instead of accepting the feeling and then making provisions to get out of a situation, they continue to bat back and forth and try to literally anesthetize the upper level mind to, again, reject what they're really feeling. And so there is a great degree of untruth. A person doesn't want to see, neither do they want to accept or admit what's truly going on. And so what transpires then, again, the mind hears information. The mind starts patternizing this information, And everything that you have heard, you either picture it or you start forming a mental assimilation of events, things that can happen, processes that have taken place in the past. And you utilize this information as a way of stimulus and behavior for the present. And so when we talk about the dimensions or the levels in which the mind operates, the mental realms of battle, we're talking about then the consciousness, the subconsciousness, and the most powerful and the most active part of the mind of all, the unconscious. The unconscious mind is believed to be about 90% or more of all of the mental activity that takes place in the mind. And so the unconscious utilizes more energy, more neurons, and more things in the mind than any other aspect of the living mind. And so the brain then accommodates what you are really thinking on the base level. And so what transpires, all of these thoughts that have been coming in since the time literally you were conceived, there were things that were generated in you and patternized in you by God. It was God's creation where he created you as a living soul that had the propensity for specific types of greatness, the hunger and the thirst to achieve specific things. But at the same time, because you were linked with the human and a human family, in many instances your background and the nurturing or the lack of that nurturing, it also caused specific types of feelings to be generated. And what you saw, how you were trained, you began to develop images. And so when you experience something that is similar, the images rise within the mind. And those images then begin to elicit and cause other thoughts to come into play. And so what transpires then, when we talk about the mental realms of battle, you are battling on 3 levels in 3 realms. First of all, the realms then deal with the realities in which you live. And these realities, the physical reality, the mental reality, and the spiritual reality. Now, when we talk about the spiritual reality, what saves us from that, believers, is because you've been born again. And so as a new creation within your spirit, God has wiped away the old condition. And so the spirit now begins to embed within us as we allow our spirit to operate. The spirit then will send forth information that will help us to frame, to develop, and to produce images that cause us to move towards God emotionally and volitionally. And so the war takes place in the physical, in the mental, which is the soul, and spiritual. Now, I've said in times past that the spiritual battle is literally spiritual entities, and sometimes your flesh or individuals that are used by spiritual entities to war against your will from accommodating the spirit. And so what the enemy seeks to do is to activate the portions of your humanity that yet desire to fight against God, reject the laws of God, and reject God as being God. And so again, the mental realms of battle will deal with the consciousness, it will deal with the subconsciousness, and the unconsciousness. And so there is a battle for the will. There is a battle for the formulation of your mind, the yetzer, the power that causes you to be able to create images. And those images create compunctions of emotions. They create desires within the will, and they start stimulating the intellect that causes you to think along certain lines. And so what transpires, if your unconscious mind is compromised, then the enemy can begin to develop thoughts in you or cause you to develop those thoughts so you can create images that will impact your emotion. And keep in mind, emotion ex movere or ex movere, I believe the proper Latin term would be ex movere. And so it causes you to move from the station of standing, from the mental position, from the emotional or the volitional position. We are out of time. I thank you for joining us. This has been our daily Bible study, and I am your host, Dr. Derek A. Reeves. Until next time, God bless.